Hey guys, today's topic of the video is going to be about one of the most important topic in discourse analysis, discourse and also linguistics, which is written and spoken discourse. But before starting, I will suggest you to subscribe to my channel so that you can get all the literary updates from there. Also follow me on Instagram so that you can get all the literature related posts from there. In this video, we will be covering the definition, the comprehension of discourse and its types and the characteristics of its types, and we will also differentiate between written and spoken discourse in this video. So let's start the video without any delay. Michael Foucault describes the definition of the best definition of discourse as you know, Michael Foucault is a French literary critic. Also, he is a historian, philosopher, writer, political activist, and he is notable for his theory relating to the intimate relationship between power and knowledge, how the power influences the knowledge we have, and he has written prolific philosophic books. In this, one of the most important is Discipline and Punishment. Other are the history of sexuality, madness and civilization, the order of things, the archaeology and of knowledge, power, and etc., the birth of biopolitics, the birth of the clinic, etc. So let's start with the definition of Michael Foucault: a system of thoughts containing ideas, course of actions or practice of belief when spoken or written in a certain world is called discourse. Discourse is always context dependent, so there should always be a context when we are having a discourse, when we are speaking something or we are writing something. There is always a context for that. There has been always a context. So a discourse is always a context dependent. Discourses are in the form of narration, exposition, description or argumentation. So they can be like narrative style, expository style, descriptive style, like we are describing something, or we are arguing someone. So these are of many types. So there are two types of discourse. One is written and another is spoken. So what is written discourse? Written language which shares a single context. In written discourse, we maintain coherence, cohesion, clausal relations and text pattern. There is a coherence and cohesion in the text when we are writing. In written discourse, the writing should be very laconic, and it should be attached to the previous idea or topic. It always is. Written discourse is always a topic oriented. Okay, so there should be a coherence, cohesion and causal relation and text patterns. Next, characteristics of written discourse. You will totally identify what written discourse actually is. So first characteristic is its impact is persistent. For example, like writing cannot be faded or compared to spoken language, like when we are writing something, and it is consistent, is persistent, like it cannot be erased like that. Like if it is not recorded, in case of spoken, it is faded, it is not in documented form. All right, and so when we are writing something, it means that We are documenting something. It is persistent. It cannot be erased. It has some kind of official importance. Writing is static. It remains where it is written. So writing cannot roam from pillar to post. It always stays where it is written. Alright, you can reread it anytime. You can reread when something is written in document form, on paper, or somewhere on the wall, on trees, anywhere. You can reread it. You can check what you have read. In case of spoken discourse, you cannot read. You cannot read or correct what you have spoken. It seldom needs a quick response, whereas the spoken form requires a rapid response. Alright, if you have written some magazine, it takes months, weeks, or days, alright, to gain some kind of response. Whereas when we are speaking something, we get in most cases, in almost every case, we find the immediate response at that time in verbal or non-verbal communication. Writing contains discrete and separate symbols. So writing, when we are writing something, we use some kind of symbols in form of alphabets, punctuation marks, etc. Words are separable. We can separate the word from one another in writing. Text is permanent. Text is permanent. Yes, it is persistent. For example, like first characteristic of the written discourse, it uses words and punctuations. Written discourse, as you know, that when you are looking through some book, the page of the book, and when you are compare two kind of discourses, on one page there is some kind of written discourses, some kind of story written, or essay, or anything written, and in recording form there is a speech of Hitler or etc., or of any personality, of some kind of prime minister or some great person. You can see that there is no commas, full stops, colon, semicolon, brackets, etc. in the spoken, in speech, whereas you will find plenty of punctuation marks in written language, in written discourse. Next is words and sentence structures are highly explicit in writing. So words and sentence structures are highly explicit in writing. So we can examine the sentence structures of written language, of written discourse, whereas we cannot, we are not that able to find the mistakes, to interpret the sentence structures in spoken discourse. So that's the reason. There can be no immediate reader or immediate response. You have already known about this. Writer and reader can be in different places. Yes, you can print a piece of paper from there, and someone written in USA or in Europe, in India, and any part of this world can read or reread this article, this piece of page, magazine, or article written on some website. All right. Writer, all right. It is learned in some institution. Yes, there should be a proper guidance and lecture oriented. It's a lecture oriented approaches you to learn some written language. A person can speak something without taking any lectures, but but one must take classes, a proper education in order to write something. It is learned or more complex structures and more elaborated than spoken language. Its structures are complex and elaborated as compared to the spoken discourse, rich in structured sentences. So it is there are structures. It is full of different structures like clauses, phrases, etc. Conditional, zero conditional, first, second, third conditional, etc. There are plenty of sentence structures in written language. In written, we mostly use passive form. Written is passive form, whereas spoken is active form. Alright, it takes time to write something, whereas speaking doesn't take that time, that energy. It is face to text. Someone is facing towards the book or paper or keyboard in order to write something. It is expository. Yes, it is expository. Expository is an adjective, exposition, and it means explanation and or describing something or explaining something. Yes, when we write something, we are explaining something. We are writing it's about something, so that's why we are explaining it. Ideas oriented and argument oriented. Yes, it is. Written discourse is always the idea or argument oriented. We are writing something of certain or about certain context. We are writing something, a piece of article to a sentence or a word in answer, in support of some idea or argument. It is mostly formal. Yes, writing is mostly formal. In most cases, it is formal. Whereas spoken is informal. It can be informal. Yes. Secondary discourse. It is secondary discourse whereas spoken is primary discourse. It is conscious and highly structured. Sentence structures are highly constructed, and it is when we are writing something, yes, we are writing it in some conscious. It is highly planned. Yes, we take pen, paper, and we plan ideas, we plan structures, we plan the mood of some writing. So that's planning. Moving towards the second topic of this video, which is spoken discourse. Spoken is oral language which shares a single context. It is not that complex process, unlike written discourse. Describing the characteristics of spoken discourse, it is its impact is ephemeral. What is ephemeral? Ephemeral, transient or transitory, lasting for a very short time. It is not everlasting as compared to the written one. Spoken discourse can easily be faded as compared to the written form. Yes, speech is dynamic, whereas writing is static. Speech is dynamic, more dynamic than we can circulate it from one place to another. Speech cannot be revived. So when we speak something, we cannot retrace and revive it. Once spoken is spoken, it cannot be checked or anything. We can only regret it. Spoken discourse needs a quick response from the listener. So speech is continuous. We are continuously speaking something, whereas Writing can be non-continuous. Words and actions are merged during the speech. When we are speaking something, we direct all our words, all our speaking, we high and lower pitch voice, our hand gestures, or expressions. This also creates the context, the mood of our speaking. Whereas we cannot see this phenomena in writing. We can only use the sentence structures or punctuations to set the mood of the book or the novel of something. That's why there are several interpretations of a text, of a written text. Words and action are merged during the speech. Yes, speech is temporary. Speech can be faded away. Is it ephemeral? It needs face and hand gestures, like also verbal communication, as well as prosodic features of the language. Words and sentences are less explicit. We can speak something wrong. We can speak, there is no need to speak the exact sentence structures when you are speaking something, be it formal or informal. We can commit mistakes. It is not that explicit. But when we are writing something, it should be correct. Speech or dialogue is a social interplay. We speak something to create impact or part in social circumstances. It has some social results. Same listener is always present on the spot. Speaker or listener are always in the same setting. Speech can be learned at home also. A child, when born, after 2 or 3 years, there is no need to go for him to school or some institution in order to learn how to speak. He can speak it from copying his parents, his brother, his society, his home. Whereas when we want our child to speak something, to write something, we have to give him or her a proper planning, education in order for writing. A speech can be simpler than the written one. It has not that complex sentence structure, no punctuation and rules, and we can break the rules while speaking. So also speaking is informal. It can be informal. It is more fragmented as it contains many simple sentences and coordinate words like and, or, but, etc. It is face to face. We are speaking something. We can find someone in front of her. We cannot speak it alone. Yes, we can speak it alone to ourselves, but in most cases there is some listener always present. Spoken discourse has more pronouns, more lexical properties, or more active form and verbs. It is narrative. We are narrating something. Always we are speaking something about something. Action oriented or event oriented. Speaking is action oriented. When we see a child abusing someone, like or child is having some mistake or abuse, we can condone him. We condemn his actions. We ask him not to do this. So that's action oriented. And event oriented, there is some event happening around us and we speak hurrah and etc., like these kind of words to express ourselves. It is informal. It can be informal. Yes, we always not need to write it properly on pages. Primary discourses, it is primary discourse, it is unconscious, it can be unconscious, yes, when we are for example, we are also speaking when we are unconscious. It do not need a proper planning or a proper something, but it need you to speak something. It is spontaneous. What is coming, it comes. It do not need proper structures, proper planning, etc. It is unconscious, that's why. Thanks for watching. I hope you are like or dislike the video. Also comment in the comment box for further inquiry, and also subscribe to the channel if you like this video. And thank you.